once you came to the decision you had to let that person go, what were your emotions like around it? What were you thinking in your mind?
Welcome back, everybody. Joe Everest, the fence expert. Hey, one of the most common pieces of feedback we get about the Saturday morning live Ask the Expert segment is those things are long, and they're not wrong. They last about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. Sometimes, a few weeks ago, Caleb and I got into a pretty good discussion about marketing. I think it lasted closer to 4 hours. Nobody's got time to sit through 4 hours of listening to a couple experts talk. I get it. So Jeremy's created a new segment just for you guys called Hot Takes. It's usually a shorter segment of the longer conversation, basically hitting the hot topics, if you will, of that live segment. So without further ado, here comes this week's Hot Take. As I told my leadership coach this week, time and culture effectiveness are key. So this is when Matt was talking about culture and time being important. I personally believe culture affects efficiencies. Culture affects your efficiencies. If you have people that are satisfied and that enjoy being there and are all headed the same direction, I think your efficiency has to go up for sure.
Well, in your life enjoyment, who wants to walk around work with a bunch of people who are miserable? I mean, life is short, so we should enjoy it.
Well, that's one thing I noticed at Michael's place is that Michael obviously does a good job at building culture because everyone there, I mean, the guys worked pretty late those couple days, and it was just another day for them.
They love it.
You know what I mean?
They got that puppy dog on the shirt, man. That's why. They got the puppy on the front of their shirt.
That is it. That's key.
Yeah. We're going to start implementing that at our place probably.
Michael, how important is culture for you guys? I mean, obviously it's important because you guys have good culture. But
I'm still learning how important it is. Like, I mean, I believe it's one of the most important things, obviously, but I still learn every day how important it is when you hire the wrong person with the wrong attitude, or you bring in someone in, no matter how much they don't want to be open, they're just closed-minded people. So it's like it's hard to change. I've learned like purpose hiring. So that's one thing. Like in the past year, I've learned is hiring people that have a passion for what you're wanting them to do. Don't just like go find somebody and he doesn't care about building a fence, but he wants 25 an hour or such things. And, the money's not the key. It's actually just purpose hiring, finding someone with a passion that wants to do what you're offering them, that loves to do it. And that worked for me.
Yeah, one of the things we say during interviews is so when I'm wrapping up the interview, I said, just so you know, this interview is less about what's on your resume and it's less about how you answer the questions, but it's more about me just trying to figure out if you're a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I can teach people how to build fence. That is a teachable skill. I can't teach people to be good people. I haven't figured that out yet. So that's really the thing. But you obviously do a good job of it, Michael. And Caleb, too. I don't want to minimize Caleb, but that was one of the things I was really impressed with when we visited you guys, was just how on board the team was.
I appreciate that. They appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
I think we all know businesses and companies out there that don't invest in culture and don't invest in team building. And those are the ones that Caleb talks about. You always have those one or two guys that show up grumbling and just are not pleasant people to be around. But I tell you, the hardest thing we had to do when and not say anything about my dad, but actually this happened before, is we had to let some people go that were incredibly skilled, but they didn't have great attitudes about it, right? They were hard to work with, and they were just generally not happy people, and we had to let them go. And that's hard.
Can I interview you about that, Joe?
Yeah.
Yes. So how you once you came to the decision you had to let that person go, what were your emotions like around it? What were you thinking in your mind?
Oh, it was terrifying because they were great at what they did. They were professionals at what they did.
Were you worried about repercussions on your team?
No, it wasn't really that. It was me worried about repercussions for production.
Okay. What happened? What happened? How did you feel right after you did it? And then how did the team feel right after you did it?
Yeah. So what we found was that, everyone was happier for sure. And what we also found out was that his team was doing more than what they thought and what we thought. Right. So turning this guy loose didn't necessarily have the negative production repercussions that we thought. It actually didn't really affect anything at all, other than having to find a new team member to put in a new spot. But it wasn't as disastrous as I thought it might be, because the team the team he worked with found out that they were more capable than they thought. So not only was
then what happened? What happened? So moving on, did somebody better come along and fill their shoes?
Yeah, so that's what we found out was so if you guys have met Scott, the guy, like, he's my right-hand man for production, and he was this guy's second man. So all this time we had Scott, but we didn't know we had Scott, right? Because we had this other guy that honestly was probably holding Scott back, because Scott deferred to him on a lot of things and did things his way a lot of the time. And so letting this guy go freed Scott up to be himself. He got promoted to crew chief. At that time, we called him foreman, but he got promoted to crew chief, and then he took over the crew. And then ultimately he kind of remodeled how we build, like, the process and how we build fence. And he brought a lot to the table, and he still continues to bring a lot to the table. So ultimately it was a good thing. Morale was higher.
So I agree. So I think there's a couple of emotions you're going to feel if you're in that shoes, because I've been there. Fear, there's worry, and there's all those emotions. Once you get over it and over the hump, things tend to, what I would see every time that we've made that thing, we're going up, then we let that negativity go, and we do this, and then boom, we shoot to the sky. Better people come in. It's in my business, every time I let that person that was getting a lot of stuff done, but they were negative, every time I let them go, it's like it was like a slingshot. Every time I let them go, it was just like boom, it propelled us to the next level. And I think what it was is it was a combination of things. So if you're having that fear in your business because you got just one person who's just, and I'm all for helping somebody if they have a problem, but if you got someone that can't be helped and won't be helped, do yourself and your team and your family a favor and make that jump. Because if they're miserable, if they're making everybody else miserable, they're miserable too. Cut them loose. Let them go find that thing that they love, and then that's going to free your team up to move on and propel to the next level.
Well, absolutely. And ultimately, that's why we made the decision, was that we were willing to give up a little production to have a more enjoyable workplace, right? To not have these arguments on a weekly basis about little stuff, to not have team members just honestly not enjoy working here. We said, I will trade a little bit of production for a better place to work. And then we actually got more production. In the end, we ended up increasing production significantly.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I started crafting that opinion that culture improves efficiency.
Yeah. Well, Joe, if I told you to jump as high as you can, before you jumped, what would you do?
Do what?
If I told you to jump as high as you can, what would you do first?
I would bend down.
You would what? You would lower yourself. You got to go down before you can go up, man.
Where you can jump up. That's a good analogy. I like that. I like that for sure. I heard somebody, I don't know who said it, but somebody referred to their team members as internal clients and their customers as external clients. So we're serving both. We have to serve both. And if we serve our internal clients, our team members, supremely, they will in turn they will treat our external clients supremely. I thought that was an interesting concept, that you have to treat both equally, and one will help the other. All right, guys, that concludes this week's Hot Take. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you like the format? Do you not like the format? Let me know in the comments below. We're still figuring this out, and we could use your help. But for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you next time.